Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Class 1A podcast. Today we are going to be diving into what the My Hero Academia series looks like in 5-10 years, and if it's going to stand among the great of some previous anime series, such as Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, and more. Dylan, how are you doing today? I know last week I pretty much said no one cares, but this week I'm going to ask, why not?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for asking, Andrew. How are you doing today?
Oh, not too bad. I just figured we should at least ask, since you will be taking over majority of this episode, since this is going to be a lot of kind of your brain style. This is an idea you came up with, which I love the idea. Super fun to get ready for. So I'm going to hand this off to you here in just a second. But before I do start talking about all the previous anime and if My Hero Academia is going to last, if you are looking for My Hero Academia content, make sure to go over to class, youtube.com/class1a to stay updated with everything that we do. Or you can find most of our actual Saturday episodes over on podcasting platforms. Anything you want from Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I don't even know what else there is out there, but it is on there. And if it's not, please let us know, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, whatever. But with that, Dylan, let's jump right into the episode and cut the intro short. And what are some series, before we start talking about if My Hero Academia is going to be lasting, that we said? I talked about a couple at the beginning of the shows, but let's talk about a couple that have lasted, a couple that are kind of the borderline, maybe even one or two that just, in our opinions, did not last.
Yeah, so before we start talking about the episodes or the shows that have really lasted throughout time, I just want to talk about our perspective real quick. So we're coming at this from an American, North American perspective of we
Mm.
don't live in Japan, so our tastes are a little bit different, and what we see day to day is a lot different. And then also I think this is going to be really good because you are. I mean, at this point, you've been watching anime for quite a while, but I would say you're still newer. You
Yeah,
got into
only 4 or 5 years probably.
yeah, you got into anime later in life, and then I got into anime super super early, like Toonami as a kid kind of thing. So I think we have a good balance there, and I think you can pick up on trends that I might not be able to see just because I lived with it for so long.
Yeah.
But the shows that we're really talking about here are ones that have aired and have continued to stay in our culture for a really long time. So the ones that really stick out to me are shows like One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Sailor Moon, or even going through maybe JoJo's, something that stayed around for a really really long time and has kind of lived in the culture of anime for so long. And the question here is, does My Hero live among these in 5, 10, 20 years time? Because Dragon Ball aired I think the first episode or the manga of Dragon Ball came out in the 70s or 80s, super super long time ago. But you can go all over the place and still see DBZ merch everywhere. You can still go to Mexico, and whenever there's a big special coming out, you see the big huge ads on the buildings and stuff like that. So I think that's really interesting. I want to know, are we going to see the same for My Hero?
Yeah, and before we even kind of go into that, I mean, I think Naruto is definitely the one that I think I see the most of it. Like, when I think of a series that lasted, yes, Boruto's still going on, but I think taking that out of the fact that that never happened, I think Naruto it's still just the one I see the most. I mean, there's new merch lines being announced for it every single day. I mean, the number of TikTok trends that come out of it, the number of times I see Itachi pop up on a daily. I'm sure I'm in the anime source more, but I don't see anyone talk about anime more than Naruto, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think some of this kind of gets a little there. Like you mentioned JoJo's, why I think it is a cultural phenomenon. I think it's going to stay. It's still airing. We just had a new season a week
Mhm.
ago, and I think some of it kind of gets choppy. And even when we're going to My Hero Academia conversation, it's going to be a little bit hard because the manga is more than likely going to end sometime this year. We've already had that confirmed by Horikoshi, but the anime is still going to go on for 3-4 more years at least. So I think that makes it hard. But I think we can talk more about with that when it gets there. But I think Dragon Ball Z, I think One Piece, I think Naruto are probably the three big ones. I think shows even like Hunter x Hunter. I mean, yes, it's kind of had that weird, it's not really finished. The manga could pick back up at any point, but that's not why it's popular. People still highly recommend it. New people are checking it out every single day. I think the same with um, shows like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So I think there's a lot that have lasted, and it's harder. We even kind of looked it up before this. Like, it's easy to remember the shows that last. It's hard to remember the shows that just were supposed to
Mhm.
be huge and didn't even go. Like, I don't even know what it is. Like, even like Gundam, to an average anime fan, I've watched a little bit of it. I still know what it is. I still know about the culture. So you can't say that failed, even though we're not talking about it here. So I don't think either one of us could get a really good example of a show that failed. It just
Yeah,
went on and did its thing and it went away.
yeah, I think the one that we were talking about really, but like before the show was like Bleach. Bleach is a really good example of something that
Yeah.
like did well, but like also kind of fell off a little bit. So like people still remember it and people still love it, but they don't love it in the same way. And I think the only reason why we're seeing the resurgence was just because of more coming out about it. Because like when it ended, when the anime ended, the manga ended, we saw like some merch, people still like holding on to it, but for the most part, people kind of forgot about it a lot.
Yeah, and I think kind of a good way to think about it is I think Bleach is still on the borderline case. Like they made Jump Force or whatever, and there's multiple Bleach characters in it still years afterwards. And I think that's kind of a thing. In 10 years from now, what characters would be in a anime fighting video game? And I think Naruto would be there, One Piece would be there, Dragon Ball Z would be there, Hunter x Hunter, probably a Bleach character or two. And I do think My Hero Academia will go into it as we kind of start moving into those kind of the My Hero Academia conversation is I do worry about the series after it ends. I think how they do spin-offs or how they do additional content is going to be a big decider on if the show is going to last 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, forever. I think Dragon Ball Z will be talked about anime till the end of time. I really do think it's past that point now. Probably even One Piece. I think those are kind of and Naruto as well. I've all extended that kind of barrier, but I think in order for My Hero Academia to do that, they not only need to nail the ending of the manga. I think the anime needs to continue to keep doing well, but I think they're going to have to push the boundaries more after the main series ends. Whether it's a spin-off, whether it is a natural follow-up, a Next Generations type show. So I feel like if My Hero Academia just ended and did nothing after that, I think 10 years from now it would be in trouble.
No, see, I think the problem I have with that is then it becomes about more of like the My Hero IP rather than the character. So, like, when you think of Dragon Ball Z, you don't go, oh, I think about the franchise of DBZ. You go, no, I think about Goku. I think about Gohan. Like, I think about these characters, right? Same thing with One Piece. You think about Luffy or like Naruto. You think about Naruto. Like, you think about the main characters there, and that has the staying power. Because if you have a show that has spin offs and still stays culturally relevant, while changing the characters through generations, you just have Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, even though
Uh,
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Yu-Gi-Oh! And like we all kind of remember Yugi, like from the original, like it becomes less about like him and like remembering that character and that original set of characters. And instead it's like this nebulous IP that like has like generations upon generations into it of like that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it just changes the way I think we feel about it. I think you could say the same for Pokemon too, of where like instead of having it like be revolving around Ash, like even though we still have him as a character all the time, it's more of like about this franchise instead.
but I think yes, that does make a very good point. And I guess I have no idea how Dragon Ball Z works. I know there's like 18 series. I think of Dragon Ball Z kind of like how I think of Gundam. Well, I mean,
Nope, they're
let
all the same characters.
are
They
they
all
really? I had no idea. There's
yeah,
been
for the most part, they kind of stay the same line of like Goku's always kind of around, like he's still kind of the main character for most of it. And it's mostly like the tertiary characters around him and like the villains that really change.
so let's bring Gundam into the conversation then,
Mhm.
because Gundam is a good example of that, where it has storylines of the same characters going on for a couple different shows, but eventually it does get kind of mixed up. I think the canon's kind of all over the place. I think there's all connections there. Obviously, it's the same world, same kind of origins, but I think there's still some disconjointment between all the different series there.
Yeah, I
But what do you
think
consider that a series that have been around for 5, 10 years? Like, yes, it's the IP that's strong, but it's still you still know Gundam.
yeah, but I would say it is more of the IP because like the best way to think about Gundam is like it's like the anime version of Star Wars, of where you think about Star Wars and there are certain characters that light up in your head, but it is a bigger IP with a lot of stories, a lot of characters and whatnot. And I think that's like a good kind of comparison
Yep.
for Gundam, of where it's more about like the cool sci-fi world that it builds that has memorable characters like Shar Aznable or has really cool like mechs that you remember. But at the end of the day, it's like this cool kind of sci-fi universe, the same way Star Wars is.
And I'm okay with that being My Hero Academia, though. I think is maybe why I kind of recommended that at the start is that I love the world that My Hero Academia has built more than Hunter x Hunter. I mean, Naruto's probably it's probably close with Naruto as well, but I would love spin-off series of Naruto as well too. Like I think I would love those franchises. I think that might be getting away a little bit from where this conversation is, but after the main series of My Hero Academia is over, if we never touched Class 1A's and Deku's journeys and had 18 more spin-off series that like, hey, there's mentions of like it's a 10-year time jump and Deku's #1 hero and stuff kind of like that. Like, I'd love that all be kind of connectedness, but give me a story about 3 young kids like starting the agency at super young and kind of building up and going through the tribulations of that. Give me the Vigilante spinoff. Like, I think for me, I love the IP as much as I love the main series. So I think for me, how I see the main series going, I mean, I think All Might, Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki. I think those 4 in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years are going to be around. But I don't think that necessarily means much beyond it. I think of that kind of as Bleach. I think in 10 years from now, Ichigo is still going to be known. The sword, all that is still going to be well known. But that doesn't mean Bleach is remembered very well. I think those 4 characters are going to withstand time, regardless of how the rest of the series stands up.
Yeah, I think that is really important. Of like, the characters have to be incredibly good and recognizable, and you have to be able to latch on to them. And I do think My Hero does have that going for it. Horikoshi is so good at making these like memorable characters. Like, you can take anyone in the series and silhouette them, and for the most part, you could probably guess who it is. I think he does such a good job of being able to make these distinct characters that I actually kind of do agree. I think it does have the staying power. The one thing I do want to touch upon is that a lot of these series that have staying power is because people grow up with it originally, and when they mature, it kind of matures with them in a way of where it's not like a kids show really anymore. Of like DBZ, right? Like, you grow up with DBZ and you get older, and it still has that like edge to it, right? It still has that interesting edge to it. And I would say the same for Naruto and One Piece. Of like, they have this edge to it. And I'm wondering, does My Hero have enough of an edge to keep people around like that?
So I think what helped with that, obviously going back to Naruto, is they did have the Shippuden series. I think without Shippuden, that wouldn't have happened. But you could have just made it all one big show and not called it Shippuden and split it up. So I think that's kind of a cop-out answer there. But I think in recent chapters, it does. I think it's getting better. Obviously, we're not going to talk about anything that's happening, but I think as the series has gone on, it has felt less like, oh, school festivals, all that kind of stuff, Deku being hurt without any repercussions, to now, if Deku got hurt, it felt like it would be very detrimental to everything happening. So I do feel like it has grown up a little bit. And I want to talk about villains in a second here too, because I think that's a big part of a series standing point. But I do think it's getting better. I think not enough time has been in this more kind of dark, kind of more gritty and growing up, because the series is ending in a year. I think if it was like this and we still had a year or 2 left of the manga, I think that'd be great, kind of as people are going up. But I feel like this gritty, darker time is going to be short. I feel like we're going to wrap it up the story. Then there's going to have to be a little bit of happy time afterwards, because that's just kind of how, unless I guess it doesn't have to be. I mean, everything could go horribly wrong, but you have to assume there's going to be a little bit of happy time afterwards, which I don't know. I worry about that a little bit, and I think how they kind of portray some of that in the manga. A lot of people were, I mean, the anime, a lot of people were worried about the villains arc, that it wasn't going to be portrayed kind of more dark, because that was the start of kind of this more dark turn in My Hero Academia, and they did a great job of that. So as long as they're able to keep doing that, I think that'll help with that more maturity. But if they censor a lot of stuff or try to bring it back down to earth, catering to a little younger audience, I would worry about that as a big kind of dink on the show.
So I actually want to throw a wrench in this and get your thoughts on this. Because we talked about a show, like a lot of staying power has to do with like the show just being along, like it just goes a long time. Like Naruto went for a really long time. It's still going on because it's part of Boruto. Same thing with One Piece, and same thing with DBZ. Now, we also talked about something have a little bit of an edge to it, and that helps it stick around. I want to throw a wrench in all of that, because I want to talk about Sailor Moon, because Sailor Moon's sticking around, and Sailor Moon, in hindsight, it was very short. It didn't last that long. Like in terms of airtime, like I know there's like a reboot now and whatnot, and little things have come up here and there, but for the most part, it was the main series came out, and that was it. That was the main series, but that had such incredible staying power of like, I don't know if it's the characters being so iconic, if it like really like kicked off the magical girl genre, like what it is about it, or if it would just like hit this year, like hit like the scene in such a perfect time for people to latch onto it. I don't know what it is, but like that I think goes against all the stuff we've been saying, because like it came out, it did its thing, and people just continue to love it for a really long time.
I think part of it's different genre as well, though. I mean, DBZ, although those are all shonen. So, I mean, I think that kind of relies on arc that requires the big battles and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't actually seen all Sailor Moon's, but the general story and what they're trying to do is there's not major training arcs in it. There's not build up. Like, it kind of comes in, it does its thing. While every other series, you've been building up and kind of powering up with the characters. While there's a little bit of that from Sailor Moon, from what I understand, it's not near as much. So for a shonen to be able to do it, you have to make the entire power up stage great and going along with the character, making you care from when you first meet the character to when the story ends or when it keeps going on. Versus Sailor Moon, you just had to really enjoy the story and the characters in it because it was iconic. Everything about it was, I mean, yeah, you're right. The memes are still around. People are cosplaying it all the time. So I do agree that it goes against everything we can, but we also can't compare it against the likes of, it's just different genre.
But also we can't we're not pulling out any other examples. Like we didn't set the barrier on ourselves to only talk about shonen. We just went to that because like those are the shows that ended up sticking around, because if we try to break outside of that, all of our examples are a lot different. Like Full Metal Alchemist, it borders the line. You could probably argue it might be shonen, maybe not. But I still think like that doesn't really hit that staying power of like it stays around, and it's an anime that like you get an anime and people are like, oh, this is the first thing you have to watch. But it doesn't hit the same kind of, you don't see it on shirts everywhere. You don't see people like constantly be like making like TikTok videos about it.
Kind of like Toradora for like your first romance anime. Like that's what everyone recommends for that. And yeah, so I do kind of agree with that. And like, I don't know, like what do we think about something like one of my favorite shows, Bunny Girl Senpai? Like I think that is a show that has also come in, done its thing, and had the one movie there, and it's still popular. People talk about it. People do cosplay that a lot. I think more just the general bunny girl costume versus but I think that's another one that I don't think is quite to Sailor Moon level, but it just came in, did its thing, and it's popular enough.
Yeah, but and I would say like I think Toradora like takes it to its extreme of where like Taiga is such like an iconic looking character. You can kind of throw her on anything. Like, oh my gosh, I see photoshops of her in like pictures with a bunch of just like Russians just squatting, and she has like an Adidas tracksuit on. Like I see stuff like that, and so like I would say like maybe she sticks around a little bit more, but that's just because she's so iconic.
Yeah,
and I think that is a big point of this of like you need to have these characters that are like literally almost like fantastical of being able to stick out and be so iconic, because otherwise they're like a character that's recognizable but they don't pop, because like a slice of life character is not going to pop the same way that Goku pops. Right, like you see Goku, you can see like you can take a square, like a 1x1 square of any part of them, and instantly your entire brain lights up and you go, that's Goku. Like I know that's Goku, as opposed to slice of life characters, which I think has to do with the staying power as well, of like that iconic look really, really drives it home.
Yeah, and kind of going back to characters, on the flip side, I think it has to have good villains. I mean, I think I hear more talk about the Naruto villains than I hear talking about the actual main cast. I mean, every single day there, like I was talking earlier, there's an Itachi post. I think Madara, I think Oboro, I think Pain, even like some of the moments from there. I think that's what also makes the series so iconic, is that you could relate to both sides. There are people from kind of both sides, whatever mood you're in or whatever you're kind of into, that you can really enjoy. I think even, I don't know much about One Piece, but I mean, there are characters that I can instantly recognize. Not One Piece. One Piece I know nothing about. Dragon Ball Z, like the Mewtwo looking motherfucker, the big pink dude, like Piccolo, I think is even a villain at one point. I don't even know who the villains are, but like there are just bad people in the series that I can instantly recognize without knowing anything about it. And that's really saying something, because there's so many posts about it, there's so many people talking about it. And I think that is going to be one of the things that I worry about most with My Hero Academia. I don't think in 5 years I will look back on any of the villains in this series and give a shit. I think Shigaraki might get there by the end of the series. I think All for One is fine. But if Shigaraki doesn't come to fruition as a really good villain in the next however many chapters we have left and over the last couple of years of the anime, I think that's going to hurt it dramatically. Yes, it's all about Deku's story being the strongest, but you have to care about the villains, just like you did in Naruto. Even the very first arc ever in Naruto, you care more about the villains than you do about Naruto and the crew, and that's what got me hooked right away. You don't have that at any point. You kind of get some of what the villains are saying here and there, like gentle. I think it's probably the best villain because it's the only one I've related to the entire series. So I
Yeah,
do worry about that.
I totally agree, and I think a lot of these characters, they have to look cool. Like it sounds kind of cheesy, but I think that's true because you think of all like the villains that people really gravitate towards. They look cool. Like they look like characters you want to hold to the same standard as like the main hero, right? Of like you see Final Form Cell and you're like, he looks like a badass. Or like you see like I think from My Hero you don't really see that at all because it's like gentle. It's like okay, well he's not really that cool. And it's
Yeah,
like
Overhaul. He just
the
had a
closest is
mask on,
Overhaul.
and
The
he just had a
closest is
mask on.
Overhaul. Yeah, and I think and that's like the point there is like Overhaul and Shigaraki are the closest, but like I don't know, like Overhaul's like okay, it's like he's pretty cool, but like will he be iconic enough to stay around in 15 years? I don't really know, but like I think you need characters like that because
I
hey, who cares about Gentle?
I think Toga is the most iconic villain right now, with Dabi and Twice kind of right around there too. But you don't like them because they're good villains. You like them because of their characters. At Horikoshi's done such a good job of building out these three characters that no one would care if they're on the good side or the bad side. They love their personalities. They love what they're doing. Maybe a little bit has to do with them being villains of why people love them so much. But for me, obviously Toga is a villain, but I just love Toga as a character. Her scenes are great. Her interactions are great. Even how she acts with how her personality is all lines up perfectly to make her a great character. I don't think of her as a great villain yet.
No,
So
and one thing I also did want to talk about is like who's My Hero up against right now at this point for staying power? Because like the ones that like instantly light up in my head is Demon Slayer, My Hero, and Black Clover.
I mean, Attack on Titan, JoJo's.
Yeah, I think JoJo stays. I think JoJo stays, but that's because it's a forever show.
It's
Like
what the fuck is that show? I've been
yeah,
watching through it. It's
it's a
something.
forever show. It's iconic. Like the characters are incredible. It has ties to like pop culture. Like I think that's an easy staying power show. Attack on Titan. So right now, as we're recording this, we're in the final season of the anime. Andrew and I are both watching. We both love it. I think it's the ending. If they nailed this ending, it's an eternal show.
Yeah, I agree. So I definitely agree that that's kind of borderline there too. But yeah, I agree. I think right now, I don't know. Right now, weak for. I guess I don't haven't watched enough Black Clover. I think Doctor Stone kind of gets thrown in the shonen category. I mean, but I don't think that's anywhere near anything else. Um,
No, I
Shield
don't.
Hero,
Yeah,
like yeah, I don't think there's
no.
much right now. I think for the main ones, there's only Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, which has already ended its manga, and it's going through the seasons pretty quick. Like I don't think that only has 1, 2 more seasons left as well. Like that'll be
I
over in a
yeah.
heartbeat.
I think Demon Slayer is going to live in the Full Metal Alchemist kind of camp of where it is going to be this like really good encapsulation of something that's not too long, but something that is just really good of where you just go, just consume this thing, just consume this thing. You might not see Tanjiro in like t-shirts and stuff forever, but like maybe like they have some inklings there.
I think a
I
no
think that
scale. You'll see a no scale a lot longer than you see um whatever. I can't think. I'm blanking.
yeah, I was also thinking just like all of the different like clothings and stuff, like the possibilities there. But JJK, maybe JJK.
Yeah, JJK. I think JJK is almost the next generation. Like it's the first one of kind of this next generation of shonen. Because I feel like yeah,
Hmm.
Demon Slayer. I mean, it's hard because I mean you got to think of the manga. I think the manga is still going on for a while with JJK, which will help. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I think we're kind of. I don't think there's going to be big generational breaks anymore. I think there's just going to be always ones. But yeah, JJK is the only new shonen to really come up recently. And I think once My Hero ends, I think once Demon Slayer is over, it is in the anime, I guess. I feel like there's going to be a gap. If a couple new shows don't start up, I feel like there's going to be a gap soon that JJK is phenomenal and one of my favorite shows. I'm literally wearing a JJK shirt right now. But I don't know if that's enough for me to fill the gap of Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, and My Hero Academia, all of which I'm consuming kind of right now, plus other anime. So I think we need a new generation, and it's crazy that One Piece is going to outlast a second generation of fucking shonens. But
Yeah, just a forever series that's going to go on. It feels like it's never going to end. But somehow it's still good. It's still good.
I have no idea. Maybe I'll watch that one day. Probably not.
And also I want to call to a point a series that both of us do not have a lot of experience in. But just to make sure that we don't have any haters out there, is we remember the series. Case Closed, Detective Conan. Yeah, that is a show, a series that is
I know
going on
nothing
forever.
about that show.
It is like one of the longest running series of all times.
Really?
It's huge. But it's like one of those things I don't think penetrates like North America that much. But just wanted to recognize it because I know a lot of people out there watch it. They're into it. We get it. We get it. It's very good and it's going to be around for a long time. But I think one of the big reasons is because it's just going on. It's just going on. It's never going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you kept putting on My Hero Academia episodes for the next 10 years, it'll stay popular for the next 10 years. I really think it's at that point of a series. You have to tell good stories still, but I think you could do filler arcs. I think they could just literally do all the team up missions. I think they could literally end the main series and just say, hey, we're doing team ups, which is previous encounters of all your favorite characters kind of interacting. I think like you could make that last forever, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to make it better. But
And I don't think Horikoshi will.
No.
I don't know. There's just like this sense that I get from Horikoshi of like a lot of the stuff that he talks about that I don't think he wants to stick with the series forever.
No, he's wanted to end it multiple times.
Yeah, I think he wants to be done with it. I think he'll probably authorize some spin-offs, but I think he really wants to work on new stuff. I don't think he wants to be one of these mangaka that just sticks around with their series forever and is kind of like cursed with it. And luckily, I think Shonen Jump has evolved as a company of where they don't do that anymore. Like we're not going to have like the Death Note thing of where the author wants to end it, but Shonen Jump's like, no.
Yeah,
going.
like they let Demon Slayer end at the peak of its popularity, like right during or right at the end of like season 1. It's like when they ended the manga, like there's no more bigger time to do it than then, and they let him do it still. So I agree with that if he wants to end it, he can. But he also has been good. He's authorized Vigilantes. Like he still he still overlooks all of it, but that is a completely different author. So I think he'll at least be good that if there's really good stories someone else wants to tell in My Hero Academia universe, that they still will happen, which is really good to hear, and which I'm very excited about. But any
What's
other
our-
last? Oh, go on.
No, I was gonna say, what's our final verdict? What do we think? Yes or no?
I think yes, but the tier below, I don't think it'll be the S tier. I think it'll be an A tier kind of lasting around. It'll be above Bleach and Full Metal, but it'll be kind of below Naruto in there. I think I end up right in the middle, and I think I'm okay with that. I don't think it's going to be long enough to really stick up with any of those other shows, which is why some of those other shows are up there. They've had such a long time to become that god tier that My Hero Academia I just don't think will.
I would put it in the Yu Yu Hakusho tier, is where I would put it.
Which I don't know I don't know anything about Yu Yu Hakusho, so that might not be the best comparison for me, but I'm sure a lot of the listeners that are a lot more knowledgeable than I am will do that. So yeah, it was good. And I'd love to hear, obviously everyone's listening, you always got to do the poll for comments. But if you guys disagree with us, you agree with us, if there's shows we didn't completely mention that fell off, or even that are still there that you think should have been mentioned in this podcast, let us know. We can always do a second to kind of touch on this, or who knows, maybe if somehow we're doing this in 5 years from now, we can look back on ourselves and see how dumb we were. So thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back next Saturday. Hope you guys all have a great week, and we will talk then.